It started with a sound no one on a midnight bus wants to hear. A violent clunk, followed by the engine's death rattle. One moment, we were humming along Highway 95, swallowed by desert shadows, and the next we were stranded in the middle of nowhere. I thought I had already run out of luck in life, but that night proved me wrong. It was only just beginning. The bus driver cursed, hit the wheel twice, then announced that we were stuck until morning. There was no signal, no towns nearby, just the desert stretching like a graveyard of heat and silence. The few passengers groaned and cursed under their breath. Some decided to stay inside the bus, curling into their seats. Others wandered out, kicking at rocks, lighting cigarettes that glowed like dying stars in the dark. That's when I noticed him. He wasn't loud like the others, not panicking or pacing. He simply sat near the edge of the road, his silhouette outlined by the moon. A backpack rested at his feet, and he was sipping from a plastic water bottle like it was his last treasure. Something about the way he held himself still, careful, alert pulled me in before I even knew his name. I wanted to ignore him. I wanted to keep to myself like always, but it was too quiet, too lonely. And maybe in that desert I was already desperate for connection. So I walked over. "You think they'll fix it tonight?" I asked, my voice dry as dust. He turned, and under the moon I saw his eyes dark, sharp, but not unkind. He studied me for a moment, as if weighing my worth before deciding to respond. "No," he said flatly. Then after a pause, "Name's Adrian." "Ethan," I answered, and just like that, something small and dangerous began. The desert didn't forgive easily. By midnight, the air was freezing, sharp wind scraping against skin. By daybreak, the sun would come down with the fury of fire. Our water was limited, our food just stale snacks bought from gas stations hours earlier. People grew irritable. The driver kept muttering that someone would come, though no one believed him. Adrian Thuff stayed calm. Too calm. He stretched out on the sand, backpack under his head, like this was just another bad night. I watched him for a long time, anger burning in me. How could he act like this wasn't terrifying? "You don't look worried," I snapped. He opened one eye, smirking. "Worry doesn't change a damn thing. You'll just waste energy." I hated him for being right. Still, when another passenger, a burly man drunk on fear, started yelling at the driver and threatening to leave on foot, it was Adrian who stood and stopped him. "You'll die out there," he warned. His voice was quiet but certain, carrying weight. The man scoffed but eventually sat down again. That night, people huddled in little groups, clinging to whatever comfort they could find. I ended up near Adrian, though I pretended it was just coincidence. He shared his water with me, though I hadn't asked. His fingers brushed mine when he passed the bottle, and for a split second, heat flared under my skin, stronger than the desert sun. "Why are you even on this bus?" I asked. "Why are you?" he countered. We laughed, though there wasn't much to laugh about. I didn't tell him the truth that I was running away, not from a place but from myself. From people who looked at me like I was broken. From a father who called me a mistake. From the weight of being something he could never accept. But under the desert sky, with Adrian's steady gaze on me, I wondered if maybe I didn't have to run forever. By the second day, things got worse. The food was gone. Water almost too. The driver had stopped pretending. Nobody was coming, not yet. A couple passengers tried to hike out, but the horizon swallowed them, and we never saw them again. Fear crept into everyone's bones. But Adrian, he didn't panic. He started planning. "We'll ration," he told me. "Stay in the shade by day, move only at night. If no help comes by tomorrow, we find a road on foot." "We," I echoed. He looked at me, not smiling, not joking. "You're sticking with me. You won't last out here alone." And that was the first time I believed I might survive. We sat together that night, our backs against the bus, sharing the silence. The stars above were endless, cruel in their beauty. I wanted to say something, anything, but words stuck. Then Adrian spoke, voice low. "I grew up in Arizona. Desert doesn't scare me. What scares me is people." That startled me. I turned to him, searching his face. Why? Because people think they can own you, he said. Tell you who to be, who to love, what's right, what's wrong. Out here, it's just us and the sand. No rules. No judgment. The words hit me harder than I expected. My throat tightened. He didn't look at me when he said it, but I felt it anyway, like he knew. Like he saw through me, and I hated him for it, and I needed him for it, both at once. So I whispered, barely audible, maybe I'm tired of hiding. For the first time, his expression softened. His hand brushed mine again, deliberately this time, not by accident, not as an excuse, and I didn't pull away. By dawn, my body ached. My lips cracked from thirst, but something inside me had shifted. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was watching him, memorizing every detail, every glance. Fear and exhaustion were killing us, but something else was growing in their place. When a sandstorm rose on the horizon, roaring toward us like the end of the world, I didn't run. I stayed because Adrian's hand gripped mine tight, grounding me. Together, we crouched low, the desert swallowing us whole. And when it passed, leaving us gasping and covered in dust, he laughed loud and reckless, like life itself. I stared at him, chest burning, and thought, if I die out here, at least I found this. The desert tested us for 3 endless days. Hunger gnawed at our stomachs, thirst burned through our veins, and every breath felt like it might be our last. Yet somehow, through the misery, it was Adrian who kept me steady. He forced me to drink when I wanted to give up. He cracked stupid jokes in the middle of silence so heavy it could crush a soul. He never stopped moving forward, and because of that, I didn't either. On the 4th morning, we were walking, shuffling, really away from the bus, our shadows stretching long across the pale sand. The others had either stayed behind or disappeared into the horizon. It was just us now, 2 boys against the desert. You're limping, he said. Blisters, I admitted. Nothing new. He stopped, crouched, and before I could protest, he unlaced my shoe. Hey, shut up, he muttered, peeling the fabric back. The skin was raw, torn open in places. He pulled a strip of cloth from his own shirt and wrapped it around my foot with surprising gentleness. His hands lingered a second too long, warm against my skin. When he looked up, our faces were too close. I could see the sun reflected in his eyes, could feel his breath against mine. For one trembling second, the desert, the hunger, the hopelessness, all of it vanished. There was only him. Thank you, I whispered. His lips curved into the faintest smile. Don't make it weird. But it was already too late. That night, when the temperature dropped and the desert became a frozen tomb, we lay side by side beneath a torn bus blanket. The cold pushed us closer, and I could feel his heartbeat through the thin fabric of his shirt. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The silence was thick, loaded. Finally, Adrian broke it. Ethan, if we don't make it, don't, I interrupted. My chest ached just hearing him say it. We're making it. He chuckled, bitter and soft. You sound like me. I turned toward him in the dark. That's because you got inside my head. For once, he didn't have a comeback. Instead, his hand slipped into mine, fingers interlocking, steady and sure. My heart raced, and I squeezed back, refusing to let go. Somewhere above us, the stars burned silently, witnesses to a promise we hadn't yet spoken aloud. The breakthrough came at dawn. A faint hum in the distance. A truck, rattling across the far edge of the horizon. We scrambled to our feet, waving, screaming until our throats tore. The driver almost missed us, 2 dirt-covered boys in the middle of nowhere, but at the last second, he swerved and stopped. Relief hit me so hard I almost collapsed. Adrian caught me, his arm wrapping tight around my shoulders. We climbed into the back of that truck like survivors crawling out of a grave. The hospital wasn't glamorous. Just a small-town place, with buzzing fluorescent lights and nurses who smelled like soap and coffee. They gave us water, food, clean clothes. The first sip of cold water nearly brought me to tears. Adrian sat on the bed across from me, hair messy, face scratched, but still managing to look like he belonged anywhere he wanted. He caught me staring and raised an eyebrow. What? I shook my head, embarrassed. Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. When the doctor left us alone, silence filled the room. The kind of silence that demanded honesty. I don't want this to end, I blurted out. Adrian froze, then leaned forward, elbows on his knees. What do you mean? I mean, this, you and me. The desert wasn't just survival. It was, I struggled, words catching in my throat. It was real. And now that we're back here, I don't want to lose it. For once, Adrian didn't smirk. He didn't deflect. He just looked at me, eyes raw and open in a way I'd never seen before. You won't, he said simply. And then he kissed me. It wasn't desperate or rushed, or fueled by fear like I'd imagined it might be. It was steady, grounding, soft. A kiss that said, we survived. We're still here, and I'm not letting go. Weeks passed. We stayed in that dusty little town longer than planned. Partly because our bodies needed time to recover, but mostly because neither of us wanted to leave the other. We worked odd jobs, saved a little money, and every night we'd walk down the quiet streets, shoulders brushing, hands finding each other without hesitation. People stared sometimes. Two boys, not hiding, not apologizing. I felt the judgment in their eyes the same way I always had. But now I wasn't afraid, because Adrian was beside me, and together we carried a piece of the desert inside USA reminder that survival wasn't just about food or water. It was about holding on to the one thing worth living for. One night, as we sat on the hood of a borrowed truck, watching the stars, Adrian nudged me. You ever think about going back? He asked. To where? To wherever you came from. I shook my head. There's nothing there for me. He nodded, then glanced sideways. Good, because I was hoping you'd say that. I laughed, leaning into him. You're terrible at this. At what? Romance. He grinned, pressing a kiss to my temple. You're still here, aren't you? And I was, more than ever. Looking back now, I realized the desert didn't just strip us down to bone and fear. It revealed us, showed us who we really were when the world was silent and cruel. It forced me to face everything I'd been running from, shame, my loneliness, my hunger for something more. And in the middle of all that, it gave me Adrian. We shouldn't have survived. By every law of nature, we should have been swallowed by the sand. But we weren't, because sometimes the universe takes everything from you, only to hand you the one thing you never knew you needed. Love. The kind that doesn't fade when the engine dies or the water runs out or the sky turns black. The kind that grows in the most impossible places, even in the middle of a desert night. And as I sit here now, hand in his, I know one thing with absolute certainty. That broken-down bus didn't leave us stranded. Carried us straight into forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.